Court of the Roman Empire is now in session. The Honorable Pontius Pilate, Governor of Judea, presiding. Hail Caesar! Be seated. We are here in the matter of the state versus Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. He is charged with sedition, treason, and terrorism.
Ms. Anthony, would you please call your first witness?
The state will call Malachi of Jerusalem.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you Caesar?
I do. For the record, would you please state your name, occupation, and usual place of residence?
Yes, I am Malachi of Jerusalem, and I am the captain of the temple guard.
What does the temple guard do?
We assist the priests and generally keep order in and around the temple. We're kind of like the security guards to protect the premises. And if there is some trouble, we do make arrests.
So what kind of people would you arrest?
Oh, occasionally someone comes into the temple late at night or in early morning hours to commit burglary. Money is kept at the temple, and there are many valuable objects around that could be stolen and resold for money. Upon occasion, people have tried to disrupt the temple worship. We handle those people too. Also, if anyone is accused of heresy, false religious teaching, we will arrest them and hold them until they are tried before the Sanhedrin.
What's the Sanhedrin?
The Sanhedrin is made up of 70 men, clergy and laymen who are not only judges on religious matters, but also in civil matters. In fact, before Rome took away some of their power, the Sanhedrin used to try capital crimes and sentence men to death.
Can you tell me your whereabouts on March 27th, late in the evening, and what you were doing?
Well, we were dispatched by Lord Caiaphas, the high priest, to the Garden of Gethsemane to arrest Jesus of Nazareth. There was suspicion that he was inciting riots by proclaiming himself King of the Jews, the Messiah. So the Sanhedrin ordered us to arrest him and bring him in for trial.
Were there any problems with your arrest?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Did the accused or any of those with him resist arrest?
Well, one of his followers, I think a fellow named Peter, drew a sword and attacked one of my men. He took a wild swing and cut off one of my men's ears. He caught us by surprise, or he never would have been able to do that.
Well, why did Peter attack your men?
Well, we were about to arrest his leader, and I'm sure he was trying to defend his king. It was the normal reaction of a bodyguard.
Objection!
On what grounds?
Your Honor, it has not been established that Peter was the bodyguard, that he followed Jesus in that capacity, or that Jesus wanted him to act in such a fashion.
Objection sustained. The jury will disregard Malachi's statement about a bodyguard.
All right. Malachi, the point is that Peter tried violently to defend his king.
Yes, that is true.
Then what happened?
And then we found him, took him to Lord Annas' house, and then to the Sanhedrin.
Could you tell us what happened there?
Jesus was questioned and admitted that he was the King of the Jews.
Can you tell us exactly what Jesus said concerning his mind?
Well, the high priest asked if he was King of the Jews, and Jesus replied, "Yes, I am. And you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of the Almighty and coming with clouds of heaven."
So Jesus freely admitted that he was King of the Jews.
Yes, he did.
No further questions. Your witness.
I'd like to ask a couple of questions about the actual arrest. Did Did he say anything at all about force and violence?
Yes, he said something about those who live by the sword will die by the sword. I guess he was telling his followers not to fight on his behalf.
You guess? If your commanding officer told you the same thing that Jesus said, what would you do?
I would put my sword away and not fight.
Have you ever heard of a general or a king telling his men not to fight on his behalf?
No, I haven't. In fact, he asked us to spare his followers and take only him. That kind of struck me as odd. But I think maybe he was afraid. He knew he was outnumbered.
How did Jesus show his fear?
Well, now let me think about it. I guess he didn't act afraid at all.
You then testified that you took him to the Sanhedrin. What time of day was it?
About 4 hours after sundown, 10 o'clock in the evening.
Have you ever taken a prisoner to be tried at night before the Sanhedrin?
No, I haven't. Not any time in 10 years that I know of.
In fact, isn't it against Jewish law to hold a trial at night?
Objection, Your Honor. The religious legal system is not on trial here.
Your Honor, I'm trying to show that the Jewish leadership broke their own law in bringing this man to trial. That they broke the law on the flimsiest of evidence. And I further stipulate that Jesus never would have been brought to trial if his trial in the Sanhedrin had taken place in the daytime, as it should have. In fact, Your Honor, I move for a mistrial based on this man's testimony. We cannot try a case or hear an appeal when the legality of the lower court is in question. I can cite several precedents in this regard.
Mr. Gallio, if Jesus' trial occurred in a Roman court of law, I would agree with you. But his trial took place under the Jews. We are not bound by what happened in another legal system. Jesus had been brought to this court on charges of crimes against the state, and he will be tried thusly. The motion to dismiss is denied, and I will sustain the objection since the Jewish legal system has no bearing here. I want the jury to disregard the question and the answer. Proceed, Mr. Gallio.
All right. Malachi, was Jesus ever struck by one of your men?
Yes, one of the guards got a little carried away and hit Jesus. He has been suspended for 3 days with pay.
With pay? I would like to get suspended from my job for 3 days with pay. It sounds more like a reward than a punishment.
Objection, Your Honor. Mr. Gallio is making opinions and moralizing. This is not his purpose. He can wait for his summation.
Objection sustained. The jury will disregard Mr. Gallio's comments. Please proceed.
But you do admit that Jesus was hit by one of your men.
Yes, he was.
I move for mistrial, Your Honor, on the grounds that an admission of guilt cannot be accepted when made under duress and without counsel to advise him.
Again, Mr. Gallio, if Jesus were tried in a lower Roman court, I would declare a mistrial and dismiss the case. Here, we are dealing with Jewish courts, and we have no jurisdiction.
When has Rome ever been concerned with jurisdictions, Your Honor? You are the governor here. If you are not in control, who is?
That is enough.
Have you abdicated your power to a bunch of thugs?
Mr. Gallio, I want to warn you not to push this benevolence of this court too far. You are on thin ice. Proceed with the questioning.
Were all members of the Sanhedrin present on the night in question?
I'm not sure. There were 70 in the Sanhedrin, but I'm not sure how many were present that night.
So all of them were not present, am I right?
Yes, that is true.
Does that not also violate Jewish law?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you think some of the members of the Sanhedrin were not notified of this meeting to make sure that Jesus couldn't give a fair trial?
Objection.
Sustained.
Well, Malachi, I don't know about you, but the whole thing sounds No further questions.
Ms. Anthony, call your next witness.
I call Annas of Jerusalem.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you Caesar?
I do. For the record, would you please state your name, usual residence, and occupation?
I am Annas. I live in Jerusalem, and I am retired.
What occupation did you retire from?
I was high priest in Jerusalem for 9 years.
Please forgive me, but I'm not familiar with religious protocol. How shall I address you?
It is customary to address the high priest as Father or Lord. Either one will do nicely.
All right, Lord Annas, tell me, as an expert of the scriptures, what is the accepted view of the Messiah?
The Messiah is to be a king in the line of David. He is to be a military champion who would lead his people in triumph over all who oppress Israel. He is to be a warrior king with divine powers. And because of those powers, he will be able to subdue all of our foes.
Lord Annas, can you tell me of anything strange or different that took place on March 27th?
Strange is the word. I was about ready to retire for the evening when my servant came to my chamber and advised me that the temple guard had brought the accused to my house so that I might interview him.
Did you interview him?
Yes, I questioned him for quite a while. He admitted that he was indeed the Messiah, but after a little more questioning, I was sure that he was not the Messiah.
Why not?
As I said, the scriptures say that he is to raise an army and defeat his enemies. He knows nothing of battle. He was not divine. He proved that by his inability to produce any divine signs. So, he could not be the Messiah.
Lord Annas, are you sure you could not be mistaken?
Well, he may have deluded himself into thinking that he was the Messiah. He may have even convinced a few people who have no knowledge of the scriptures that he is the Messiah. But the point is that if we followed this fraud into battle, we could not win. Israel would be destroyed. I do not want to be responsible for the slaughter of countless people. And since he is a pretender who would stir up trouble, he should be executed according to Jewish and Roman law. Since he is a threat to Jew and Gentile, he should be put to death.
No further questions.
Now, Annas, tell me why you retired.
Well, I retired because of my age and for reasons of health. The position of high priest is a stressful job.
Isn't it a fact that the high priests are now appointed by the Roman governors?
Yes, unfortunately, but that is the way things are now.
Annas, isn't it a fact that you were relieved of your duties by the last Roman governor because you would not cooperate with him and because you were extorting poor, helpless citizens under the guise of religion?
Objection, Your Honor. Mr. Gallio is not making charges with no foundation.
is not the high priest, and therefore does not have the right to be called by any special title.
Mr. Gallio, you cannot make accusations without proof. Besides, the reason why Lord Annas retired has no bearing on this case. And I would expect you to be courteous to all our witnesses. Proceed.
All right. All right. Now, let's see. Tell me, ex-high priest Annas, why was Jesus brought to you in the first place?
It is not an uncommon practice to seek the advice of a retired theologian to help in the matters of the law. Judges and lawyers seek advice from law books and other jurists, retired or not. And it is the same with the religious leaders.
Isn't it a fact, ex-high priest, that your son-in-law Caiaphas and the whole priestly order were afraid that if the people followed Jesus, your positions of power would be lost to him?
Well, it is true that if the Messiah came, there would be no need for a priestly order. But that is not the case with Jesus.
You know what I think? I think if the Messiah did come, if he did do all the signs and wonders you demand, you'd still find a way to get rid of him, to preserve your job and position of importance within Jewish society. Am I not right?
You are absurd. I expect to be treated like this in a Gentile court of law, and I was not disappointed.
Your Honor, would you please tell Mr. Gallio to be more polite with our witnesses and to treat them with respect?
I would be happy to, Your Honor, if the prosecution could produce a witness who was worthy of this court's respect.
Mr. Gallio, I appreciate your aggressive defense in this case. I find it admirable that you are presenting such a good defense, but I am afraid I will have to find you in contempt if this goes on much longer.
Your Honor, I find all the state's witnesses in contempt. We have as yet not heard the truth from one of them. But I will try and control myself. Is it not true that your son-in-law, Caiaphas, is incompetent and needed your help in this business with Jesus?
Lord Caiaphas is very capable, but occasionally all high priests seek the advice of other priests to make sure that they are interpreting the scriptures correctly. That is all Lord Caiaphas has done.
Did he not, in fact, come to you to get help, to concoct a story to keep Jesus from taking his position as high priest? And was he not also afraid that he could not convince a Roman court of law that Jesus was guilty of anything?
The high priesthood is afraid of no man, especially men like you, who bully helpless old men.
Then who are you afraid of?
Of God, and no one else.
And that is why you had to do Jesus in, because both of you saw God in him and were afraid of what he would do and say.
No.
According to Jewish law, is the Sanhedrin ever to meet at night?
Never.
Then why, in all your infinite wisdom, did you not inform your son-in-law that he was violating Jewish law?
We were afraid that if the Romans heard about this wild man claiming to be king of the Jews, they would declare war on us. We were afraid the Romans might destroy us, and we felt it more expedient for one man to die than the whole nation.
I thought you said you were afraid of no one but God. It seems that Rome also strikes fear into your hearts. In other words, the Jewish law is to be kept only as long as it protects the priesthood. Otherwise, it can be bent to the point of breaking. Is that right?
No. I am getting confused with your questions.
Well, perhaps if you had stuck to the truth of the Jewish law The law, any law, is fragile at best. When people bend the law, it soon breaks, and justice is gone.
He said he was a king. That claim is sedition and treason. Jesus should be crucified.
You are dismissed, and this time I would urge you to stay retired, because you no longer have the mental faculties to decide what is right or wrong.
Mr. Gallagher, again, that is enough. You have been warned about this behavior 3 times. I find you in contempt of court and fine you 10,000 drachmas. Please help the witness.
I'm an old man.
Please see the bailiff after adjournment and pay up. Again, that's 10,000 drachmas. Ms. Anthony, do you plan to examine your next witness at length?
We do, Your Honor. He is Lord Caiaphas, the high priest.
I will adjourn this so we can begin fresh tomorrow.
All rise. The court is now adjourned. Hail Caesar.
Hail Caesar. This concludes tonight's episode.